finally, I played the much talked about Spider-Man Web of Shadows. So, what's up? Is this 2008 game really any good? If you enjoy watching video game reviews and want to see more content like this, please go ahead and smash that like button to help out the channel, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hey, I'm Valle, and in this video, I'm going to tell you all about my personal experience with this dark and intriguing Spider-Man game. But I'll say this up front. It gave me the feeling of being an unfinished project. Stick with me so you can understand everything, and why this rough gem was never polished. The story begins with Spider-Man as he attempts to stop the dangerous villain Venom, but the situation quickly escalates when the symbiote starts to spread throughout the city, creating new infected versions of other villains such as Electro, Vulture, and several others. So it's up to us, the players, to decide whether we follow a truly heroic path, saving and protecting the city, or a darker path, giving in to the powerful influence of the symbiote. The choices we make end up affecting our missions, the ending, and even the overall appearance of the city. It can end up more destroyed or more restored. The game also combines acrobatic combat and open-world exploration. So this game really highlights Peter's internal conflict between heroism and corruption.
Your flying days are over. Cross me again, I'll do more than take your wings.
Look, in terms of gameplay, it received a significant improvement compared to the other Spider-Man games, specifically Spider-Man 3. The combat is much faster and has that hack and slash vibe. All of Spider-Man's movement is noticeably much faster and significantly more dynamic. I liked that. One thing I liked about this game was the darker tone it got. That was amazing, and I thought it really stood out. So, like I said before, I think the reason the game leans more into a hack and flash style is because of the era, right? Well, we've already analyzed X-Men Origins Wolverine 2. Games from that era were really working with that distinctive style, often coming from games such as God of War, for example. So it's quite normal for that to happen during that period. And the combo system in this game is really quite good. It works very well, and the way you can chain different moves together is honestly really cool and satisfying. I really like the variety and creativity that this game brought to Spider-Man's combos, making each fight feel unique and interesting. And other Marvel characters also show up in the game, like Wolverine, Luke Cage, Black Widow, and so on. And I actually thought that was a truly brilliant and clever move by the game, because you could really tell that Activision's idea at the time might have been to create a much larger universe of superhero games. So maybe by including these particular heroes who were already well developed and established in the comics in the game, there was a real possibility to expand on that. The fact that the game created a truly original and distinctive story brought something genuinely new, moving away from the movies a bit and really working on something separate. Besides that, there was also this interesting choice mechanic, right? We could actually make different choices during our journey, both for the positive side and for the negative side, depending on the situation. One of my criticisms about this model is that the game doesn't really make it clear to the player which choice we're actually making. For example, if the choice on the left is to jump and the one on the right is to crouch, the game doesn't actually show you the action you're taking. So you start to assume, perhaps even subconsciously, that the colorful Spider-Man will make a heroic choice, and the one with the symbiote will make a choice that's much more anti-heroic. Real shady stuff. This lack of clarity can make the decision-making process feel confusing and less satisfying for the player overall. And I think that adding a more detailed description of the action would have made things significantly more interesting and engaging. And maybe, in my playthrough, I would have made different choices as a result. But despite all these good ideas, it's here, in the section of negative points, that the poor execution of the development really starts to weigh in. And the problem with this game is that it has a lot of good ideas, but poor execution when it comes to putting them into practice. The gameplay, for example, doesn't respond that well, especially when it comes to interacting while climbing walls. Something that Spider-Man 3 on PlayStation 2, for instance, does really well. Besides that, the camera is terrible, my goodness. For those of you who have watched my live streams where I was playing this particular game, which by the way I will recommend at the very end of this video, I would often get really annoyed and frustrated with the camera controls in this game, as well as the fact that you simply can't climb up walls in a dynamic or flexible way like you might expect. Spider-Man would just bump into the wall, and he simply couldn't pull off the impressive and challenging move of climbing up and keeping his momentum going, just like you see in the dynamic and exciting gameplay in Spider-Man 3, for example. The QuickTime events in this particular game are really truly poorly done. They just do not have the impact or the sense of excitement that they really should have. And man, we're talking about a time when there were already games with good QuickTime events, you know? Especially when it came to showing off the more cinematic parts. Another thing that bothered me during my playthrough was Peter's voice. I don't know if it's just because I'm not used to it, but I didn't find the voice impactful at all. They really could have improved that. Anyway, I don't even know if it's the same voice actor from the Spider-Man 3 games. I think it's Toby, but I'm not sure who's doing the voice. I'll look it up later. But honestly, I wasn't a fan of the voice acting. As for the interface, I have to say that it really truly lacks any sort of distinctive personality or unique character. Oh, take the health interface for example. It's actually very well done and it fits really well with the overall style of the game, as well as with the whole visual identity that the game is clearly trying to convey to the player. I thought it was pretty cool overall, but the way the game actually marks points, like for example when you have a specific point marked on the map, it really gives off this sort of beta game vibe, almost like something that's not quite finished yet, you know what I mean? They definitely could have put a bit more effort into making it look a lot nicer, really improving the game's interface so it feels more polished and consistent throughout the entire experience. Now, talking a bit about navigation, leveling up your character is pretty straightforward, so I didn't think it was bad. The only issue is really just the map markers, which bothered me a little. As for the soundtrack, there were only a few moments that actually got me excited. The menu theme, for example, is a memorable track, right? It definitely has its own personality. But as you play through the game, there really isn't anything impactful that gets you hyped about what's happening on screen, you know? That makes you feel euphoric. Like, you listen and go, wow, what an awesome soundtrack. That just doesn't happen very often. Look, Web of Shadows isn't really a bad game at all. It's actually quite fun to play, but it definitely gives you the feeling that it probably should have had a lot more time in development to really reach its full potential. A lot of things in the game needed more polish. The fact that you have multiple different endings in the game is really cool. I honestly think that's quite interesting because it makes each and every playthrough feel unique and special. Even though the whole Venom invasion vibe, for example, isn't really my personal thing, I know it was something new and different for the game. And in the end, it doesn't really have such high quality if we compare it to other Spider-Man games. And it's a rough gem that Shaba Games tried to polish. And if you genuinely like this review and would like to see my full, unedited experience with the game from start to finish, I'll leave my complete, uninterrupted gameplay right here so you can check it out at your own pace and maybe even mess around with me in the comments. There are also several other in-depth reviews of Spider-Man games that we're currently marathoning here on this channel. So if you're new around here, welcome to the community. Please consider subscribing, leaving a like, and hyping up this video, my friend. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.